guy. You know, and so I understood that, but I believe in the law. I'm going to defend the law.
Lone guy that Senator Kyle didn't come here.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. This is model legislation. I mean, again, 200,000 left the state of Arizona. Crime is down, cost is down. We know it works. Other states are modeling it. I'm disappointed. We lead the nation. We're in front of the parade on this issue across this nation. The other states are, hang on, the other states are very proud of what Arizona's done. And the governor has stepped out to support this bill after signing it. And yeah, I'm disappointed that others weren't here to do that.
You criticized politicians to take a drive-by approach to immigration. Do you feel confident that Mitt Romney is going to follow through on that?
No, I don't. I hope not. He had the same advisors when he ran 4 years ago. I believe he's very sincere. And again, good people can disagree. Good people disagree. You know, and I'm always disappointed somebody wants to take this to a mean-spirited rhetoric. It's very disappointing. I'm a passionate guy. It kind of reminds me of Herman Cain, who was busy the other day. And he's getting a little loud and kind of looked like an evangelical preacher up there. And then he backed up and said, my wife tells me to tone it down and sound mean. He said, I'm not mean. I'm passionate. And I am too.
So what do you think about the report? Latino vote for the Democrats?
Well, no, I should know. Yeah, and that's the difference. Latinos that are Americans support this overwhelmingly. In '06, we had four ballot initiatives on the ballot. They voted 60% on all four of those. So why do we demean? No, hang on. Why do we demean? Why do you demean the Hispanic community? Huh? Why would you demean them?
Is it true that
for some reason, hang on. Let's one question at a time. Why would we think they're less of an American than us? I deal with these groups all over. Albert Rodriguez, Anna Gaines, immigrants who come here, folks who have fought for this country, and other groups. They love this country as much as you and I. I find it demeaning to them to assume that they support illegal just because they're Hispanic. That's not fair. It's not fair to them.
Is it true you are linked to prison builders used by ICE?
Is it true what?
That you are linked to people that is investing in building more prisons, and that's...
No, it is not true. It's an absolute lie by NPR. Invented the story, not even a little bit of truth to it. I find it amazing that someone would, I think they woke up from a dream and just wrote an article. There was absolutely no truth to that article at all.
All right, 4 years ago.
Zero.
4 years ago, you said the Supreme Court will vote 5-4 in favor of SB 1070. Are you still that optimistic?
I am. And I think it'll probably be a 5-3. Kagan should recuse herself. She's already written to Solicitor General her opinion. She recused herself on employer sanctions. I think, my guess is she'll recuse herself again. If not, then it'll be a 5-4 decision. If recuse herself, it'll be a 5-3 decision. I'm fairly confident on that.
Senator, do you believe you were sent up here today, even though you volunteered?
I'm not going to go that far. I knew the risk of coming here, and I knew that I would have the odds. I knew that everybody on that panel would probably be against me. The Democrats especially, who are pro-amnesty, call it reform. I mean, I like the term that they use to cover the real intent. But I knew that, and I'm willing to defend Arizona, whether I'm one guy in a crowd or whether I have colleagues with me, because the majority of Americans stand with me. The majority of Americans, and I'll stand for Americans, and I'll stand for those citizens who have a right to have their laws enforced.
Why wasn't Senator John Kyle here to defend you, to help you out?
You'll have Senator
that raises
John
the
Kyle.
question, Russell. I mean, the fact is, if you were set up, if some of your Republican colleagues had bothered to show up, maybe we would have gotten a more balanced hearing.
Maybe, but again, I don't know their reasoning, and I don't want to speak for them. If they thought it was going to be unfair, I kind of would have appreciated a phone call with their concerns. I didn't get that either. But again, I'm not one to run from what I believe is the right thing to do. I have my moral compass. I know right from wrong.
The Romney campaign is making a big point of insisting that they weren't saying that the SB 1070 was a model.
Who said that?
The Romney campaign. They're really backing off of that. How do you feel about that?
I'm not going to comment on something. I haven't read that.
You told me he supports self-deportation, though.
Right, and that's in the SB 1070.
But they said specifically it's not. He wasn't referring to it as a model. Was that what you took from it at the time?
Absolutely.
And how do you feel about them saying that that wasn't it?
Well, again, I'm not going to get into specifics because I can tell you the folks that said as his advisors on this, I have worked with for years and have great confidence and trust in him. I know Romney's a compassionate man, as most of us I'd like to think are, but I also think he understands the crisis and the damage to this republic and the need to enforce our laws, secure our borders. And I admire that about him.
You said you shared some tears with DREAM Act students at ASU. When was that? Where was that?
It was actually at the convention at the downtown Hyatt during the last election, 2010. We went off into the corner, about a half dozen of us, and I have to admit, I was very touched. These were exceptional kids, and I understood their plight. And again, that's why I say exceptions, I think, can be carved out. But you can't just do blanket policies and forgive the world for breaking our laws, or use taxpayer dollars to subsidize them.
If you support their plight, would you support a DREAM Act specifically targeted at those students?
I think we have those exceptions. That's to say, it's like reform. Congress has a hard time getting much of anything right. Anytime they want to do something, they don't separate, and they want workers, 26-year high unemployment, record foreclosures, but we think it's okay to import illegal foreign labor. They never learned us how to separate workers. It's not a path to citizenship. There's two separate categories of people come here. Some come here simply to work and go home, but they never can get it right, and that's why they'll never get it right, probably, and never get anything passed because, both sides are
Would you
difficult.
support a carve-out just for students, just for those DREAM Act students?
I think each one has to take individually. Individually. I will not support any blanket policy.
The Obama
Senator, are you
deportation
confident that SB1070 is going to prevail in court tomorrow?
Yes, absolutely, very confident.
What if it
They
doesn't?
won't rule on it for a few months. The arguments will be tomorrow.
But if they get rid of part of it, are you any part of those four different aspects that are going to consider would render the bill obsolete or get away that?
It's already been proved constitutional, and the courts have already agreed. There's only 4 sections of the 10 that are in question, and I believe all 4 of those will be upheld. Again, read the bill. It's all mirrored after federal law and constitutional. I wrote it very carefully. Chris Kobach and I sat down and went through every line. I consider him the number 1 attorney in the nation on preemption issues. We were very careful. We knew we'd be sued. We knew we were going to court. We wrote it to go to the Supreme Court.
Well, wait a second.
So
Let's talk about one of those specific sections. Under federal law, it is a civil offense for a person to seek work when they are not documented. Under Arizona law, it becomes a criminal offense. So tell me exactly how we're mirroring federal law here.
Civil, and that's one of the greatest misunderstandings, Howie. Civil under federal law is a criminal offense. You can get fined and go to jail for it. It's not the same as state civil, so we need to make sure that that's clear. Entry and remaining here under federal law is a crime.
So, Senator, what if the Supreme Court decides that all of those 4 sections are unconstitutional?
Well, again, states still have inherent police powers. All this did is put it into state law in a manner to be enforced and to eliminate sanctuary policies. It doesn't really change much of anything. 1070 shouldn't have been necessary, except for illegal sanctuary policies were imposed by police chiefs and mayors all across Arizona, across this nation. That's why it's into place, to remove those illegal policies, and we've done that. So the major part of SB 1070 is in full force. The others are important sections. I wouldn't have written them in there if they weren't important. But I'm very confident the Supreme Court will uphold that.
Do you feel like a Lone Ranger by the time that you were doing?
Well, again, doesn't really change much of anything. If they don't uphold it, it'll be a chilling effect on other states wanting to model SB 1070, but it doesn't change constitutional, inherent constitutional police powers that the states have. I've been enforcing immigration laws since I was a puppy in March of 1970 when I was with the sheriff's office. It was never an issue. It's never have been preempted. The states have never been preempted. Never been preempted. In case you didn't catch it, I'm going to say the states have never been preempted.
Okay, but the fact is, if the Supreme Court concludes the states do not have this plenary authority that you keep insisting.
Well, no, that won't be the decision. The decision whether the states can mirror it into state statute versus just follow federal statute. That's really the issue. People seem to not be able to get that right. It won't remove one piece of states' inherent police power. Not one.
But
is it important? Yeah, it's important.
But if they deny this is part of states' police power to get involved
I don't
in
think
anything with the immigration national, okay, so you're making a prediction here. That's fine. But if the Supreme Court does, I realize you're brilliant. Walk on water. But if the Supreme Court doesn't see it your way, if the Supreme Court even rules 4-4 and you lose, It would seem to me that the justice would be saying, no, the states don't have that authority.
Well, no to no is a failure, and you're right, but it wouldn't be saying no. It'd just be it didn't pass because you didn't have that majority vote. But the point is, it will pass. Secondly, it's the same issues with employer sanctions when they ruled, in a 5-3 decision. The preemption issue is the same argument the open border crowd was using then. And the misinformation, tourism is up in Arizona. I get a little tired of the misinformation as we try to demagogue a good bill about enforcement, secure borders, and protection of our citizens. We can't retreat from that. I don't intend to apologize for any of that. I love my country. I love and respect those that come here legally. And many of those that don't come here legally, I know are not bad people. Many of them are bad people, but some are good people, escaping a terrible life, and I understand that. But we have a method of coming here, and that's the way, and those laws must be honored.
Mr. Pearce, Senator Kyle released a statement saying that he thought that this was more political theater and not actually meant to be a productive hearing. What do you have to say to that?
I don't entirely disagree with that. We knew this is mostly politics. They don't have a vote. The Supreme Court does. Schumer can run his bill. He may get it out of his committee. That's where it'll die, to undo 1070. It's a popular bill, supported across America. He doesn't have the votes to even probably get it out of the Senate. I guarantee he doesn't have the votes to even get it heard in the House.
Senator, was it worth your while to come out here today?
Absolutely. I wrote the bill. I feel obligated to defend it. And even though you always worry about decorum and being able to say what needs to be said, I think it's important that I come out here and represent the state of Arizona.
Even though there were only 2 senators up there, you think it was productive?
Well, see, it doesn't matter if there was 2 or 15 up there. Where the story's going to be told is in the media, so I hope that they cover it well and make that clear.
There were a lot of youth that were mentioned during this hearing. What is your message to them in their specific cases? Will you want to see them leave the country?
I put them in that position because my heart goes out to them. But again, we've already covered this. Those exceptions have to be carved out properly. No blanket policy, just forgiving those who have broken our laws. I know some of those are good kids. My heart goes out to some of those, and I'm not apologetic for having sat down with them. And actually, was very, very tearful in terms of my heart was touched very clearly by a couple of those. But still, my heart is touched also by kids who go to jail, who break the law every day. Americans. My heart is touched by parents who have kids who make terrible decisions every day. I can't change that. The laws must be enforced.
But you're not concerned that SB1070 can get in that net kids like this?
The laws must be enforced.
So it's not a concern of yours?
It's not. First of all, only federal government can fix that. So why am I going to spend a lot of time with some states don't have control over? States have no ability to set the conditions of coming here or remaining here. That's a federal purview entirely, exclusive.
Your colleague, Senator DeConcini, said he was embarrassed on behalf of his state in part because of SB 1070. How do you respond to that?
I guess maybe he's sharing, and DeConcini's a friend, but I'm going to be very candid here. Maybe he shares the same feeling that Michelle Obama feels when she felt like the only time she's ever been proud of America is when they elected her husband. I'm proud of this country. I'm not embarrassed that we enforce our laws. What I'm embarrassed for is the victims. The victims of crime every day. According to a congressional report, up to 9,000 Americans a year killed at the hands of illegal aliens. I'm embarrassed my government doesn't have respect for the Constitution, the rule of law, and the citizens are injured and maimed every day. The jobs taken from Americans, the wages suppressed. The cost is unmeasurable. That's what I'm embarrassed about, is those that refuse to do something about the damage to Americans.
Senator, how do you respond to the pure information that came out yesterday that showed immigration from Mexico, now it's at net zero? So it really seems that it's going the opposite way. It's over the past 5 years, though. So is the trend beginning before 1070?
Yeah, because partly the recession, but in Arizona, what's happening in Arizona isn't happening in the other states around us. It's unique. Violent crime is down 3 times the national average in Arizona. No other states experienced the kind of reduction that we have. We've gone from 49th in the nation during the recession to number 6 in job recovery and job growth and economic recovery. So Arizona's done some things right. Media may not print it, but we've done a lot of things right.
Senators Kyle and Cornyn tell you that they weren't going to come, or were you surprised that they weren't?
No, I did not get a call. I had no idea.
Okay, were you expecting them to be here to support you?
Yes, I was. Support Arizona, not just me. It's not about me. This is about states' rights. This is Arizona's right to enforce the law. This is Arizona's right to protect its citizens. This is Arizona's right to protect jobs for Americans. In fact, let's take it a step farther. Like Judge Roberts said when he wrote the majority opinion for employer sanctions, it's Arizona's obligation to do that.
Mr. Pearce? Mr. Pearce, quick question for you, and I know they're already asked, so it's response. Are you in any way surprised, or are you disappointed that, for example, you didn't have Senator Kyle here or any other Republican senator for that matter?
He probably had good reasons. I would have appreciated a phone call just to know this is his state. Again, this is about states' rights. 1070 isn't about enforcement as much as Arizona's right. Whether you agree or disagree with the bill, Arizona has certain rights under their constitutional police powers. And this is about defending Arizona's right. It's overwhelmingly supported by Arizona and across the nation. It's passed. It's signed into law. It is the law. And it's also a federal law. It just mirrors federal law. But Arizona took a lead in the nation to solve this national crisis. And again, like I tease people, over 50% of the illegal entries come through Arizona. And unlike Vegas, what goes on in Arizona doesn't stay in Arizona. We kind of import our problems to the rest of the nation.
But are you disappointed? I understand what you're saying, but are you disappointed that he didn't show up, but no other Republican senator also did not show up?
Of course I am. Of course I am. But I'm not going to.
Why do you think they didn't show up?
I have no idea. I have no idea. I just certainly won't speak for them. It'd be unfair for me to assume why they didn't come. So I haven't had that conversation with them.
Senator, are you aware of the arguments that this is having the unwanted effect of causing economic problems because the lack of hand labor?
Absolutely not true. Heritage Foundation, the most premier research organization in America, showed that immigrants, illegals specifically, use social services 3 to 4 times out of any other demographic. We did a study in Maricopa County, bookings and charges. That illegal demographic commits violent crime 3 times out of any other demographic. No, those myths have to be set aside. They're just not true.
But we understand that more than 70% of the agricultural workers are undocumented.
Well,
and those are statistics, official statistics.
Again, you got 26-year high unemployment. Maybe, if you pay an American the right wage, there's not a job they won't do.
What would you say?
So we're just addicted to cheap labor. And one of the problems we have today, and I agree, we're raising kids today who don't know how to pull the rope on a Briggs & Stratton engine, They don't want to work in a sweat environment. They want the air conditioning job. Well, that's part of our problem in culture today, and we admit that.
Mr. Pearce, what are you hoping that the Supreme Court will take into consideration? A lot of people are saying that they will weigh the whole racial profiling, discrimination that some claim that SB 1070 does promote and generate.
It prohibits. I don't know how they can even say that. In federal law, it doesn't prohibit it. The Supreme Court already said that you can ask that question as legitimate as asking your age, date of birth, whenever you need to ask it, with no restrictions. Slapped down a Ninth Circuit Court decision that said that question, kind of silly, was 4th and 14th Amendment protected. They said, not true. Law enforcement can ask that question unimpeded, unrestricted. In Arizona, I took that in consideration, though, because of the fact that I knew the argument would be made. I made it clear in the bill. You can't use racial profiling. You have to have legitimate contact, stop. You must have reasonable suspicion. We put safeguards in this bill the federal government doesn't put in theirs.
Are you confident that the officers in Maricopa County and all over the state of Arizona are following that directive?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I've seen them. I've watched their training. I know the good hearts of these folks. Absolutely. When you make thousands and thousands of arrests, you're always going to find an isolated incident you may not agree with. But absolutely, these are good men and women trying to do their job and are cautious and careful and respectful of civil liberties.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Senator Pearce, I forgot to ask you your 1070 prediction.
What?